From where I'm sitting, any politician pushing for government confiscation of our guns does not only not care about the safety of our families, they're a traitor to the Constitution and this country.
What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'd like to take a minute and talk about this Yankee Marshal on YouTube. This guy's been doing YouTube for 10 years, maybe a little longer, and if you look through his catalog, at first he was doing, gun reviews, showing different guns, some range stuff. Somewhere along the line he went towards being a hater. This guy hates on anything from other YouTubers to gun organizations, and he's pretty relentless, man. He clickbaits it. But yeah, he's very divisive in that way. He likes to pit people against people. He makes false accusations towards people in the gun community, and just all around not a good environment. I see him completely ragging on the NRA, and it's just, with the timing and everything, I think we should be more in a place to try to help fix the NRA than bash on it and say, they're completely done, they've done this. I mean, it's just so convenient timing. We got everybody hating against the NRA, Walmart's doing all this, other big corporations are joining in to demonize the Second Amendment, and it just so happens to be right around election time. Just all in all, not good timing. And
it's a crime that more people don't belong to gun rights organizations. Yeah, and it's a great time for the NRA to be disabled, isn't it, to some extent? I've heard some commentators say that on TV in the last few days. It's no big secret. So that's kind of a perfect storm. We've got the elections coming up, and we've got the NRA kind of hobbled a little bit, maybe a lot, I don't know. And then we have these events that take place, and so you've got to stay mobilized, that's for sure, if you believe strongly in the Second Amendment versus a police state. That's what I always come back to.
this guy doesn't even seem to care. He runs his YouTube channel, and he just has videos where he's hating on this or hating on that, and then he does these live streams where he does nothing but talk shit the whole time. You guys know Coleon Noir. This guy is constantly hating on this guy. He says this guy supports, like red flag laws and universal background checks and these type of things, and he makes all these false claims about Coleon, how he's, like the head of the NRA spokesperson, and he supports all the stuff that they support, when that could be further from the truth. Even if you watch Coleon for a few videos, you'll see none of that is about the truth.
And that whole point of that video yesterday wasn't to encourage people to fight back against universal background checks. It is just a statement that all you lazy fucking bastards that listen to people like Coleon Noir and the NRA and Hickok, who say red flag laws are okay and universal background checks are nothing to worry about, when you sit back,
At that point, they'll use the gun registry that they got from the universal background checks to force people to sell back their guns under the threat of jail. They're banking on the majority of people complying with the buyback program because they don't want to go to jail. The few that refuse to sell their guns back to the government, well, they'll use the registry to literally go and take them by force. But in the off chance that that becomes unpopular, they'll just use red flag laws to say that person is a crazy, nutty, anti-government conspiracy theorist and take the guns that way. After this, another shooting will happen because semi-auto rifles are using less than 1% of gun deaths in this country. They'll say, well, the real problem now are the handguns. So we need to ban semi-automatic handguns because you don't need a handgun when you have a shotgun.
You don't need an AR-15. It's harder to aim, it's harder to use, and in fact, you don't need 30 rounds to protect yourself. Buy a shotgun. Buy a shotgun.
And then they'll try to force you to sell back your handguns. The goal isn't to get every gun. That's impossible.
If I could have gotten 51 votes in the Senate of the United States for an outright ban, picking up every one of them, Mr. and Mrs. America, turn them all in, I would have done it.
But the goal is to get enough of them out of the hands of the people so as to make the vast majority of the people relying on the government entirely for their safety, which gives them more power. They don't care about criminals having guns because they need the criminals to terrorize us, because if there's no crime, there's no need for expensive government policies that don't actually solve the problem. They just attempt to treat the symptoms.
He doesn't even respect the Second Amendment for everyone else. This is supposed to be the man of the people, the Spartacus, so to speak. It's a joke. It's the same type of joke that you have with these red flag laws that supposedly have due process. They don't.
But what's interesting is every politician I'm aware of in the state of New Jersey has a retinue of armed state employees around him, whereas if you live in Newark or Patterson or Camden or one of the many poor places in that state, you can't defend yourself.
Exactly. It's straight up and down elitism. That's pretty much what this is. It's basically saying, I'm important enough to be protected by guns. You are not. Not only that, I don't want you to even have the guns to possibly maybe sort of kind of use them against me because they make me feel uncomfortable with the regular normal people having firearms. And that's essentially what we're looking at here with respect to New Jersey. And this is the same person who wants to bring this to a national level. I'm sorry, I'm not for it.
Yeah.
And speaking about universal background checks, I remember seeing Yankee do a video where he said pretty much in his state they have universal background checks, and when he goes to sell a gun privately, he likes to do it through a dealer anyway. He says it doesn't really affect him, it wouldn't really affect us. And I've heard him say those things, whereas Coleon lays it straight out how he feels. He says that universal background checks lead to a registry, which eventually leads to confiscation. And he says that over and over. Whereas Yankee just, he acts like it's no big deal, man. And then he hates on these people who he says have these ideas, but they don't.
But sadly, it's coming. Universal background checks is something I have in the state I live in. And I will be honest, it doesn't put much of an infringement on me. It doesn't really cause me to have any problems. Because I was very cautious about who I would sell to anyway, so I usually used an FFL to transfer a gun if I sold privately anyway. But that was to protect myself, not because I thought it was necessary. That was just being overly cautious. But
I mean, I just feel like at this point in time, we need the gun community to be together, supporting. I mean, I don't say we should support the NRA. I do think that they need some big changes, but either way, we should be supporting the gun community, whether, it's the GOA or, the Second Amendment Foundation or whoever, but not dividing everybody.
Anyway, I just thought okay, let's go and finish this NRA thing because I still get comments about, hey, I thought you'd given up the NRA and all that. And of course, again, let me reiterate, we're not enemies of the NRA. We just got to the point where we couldn't ask you to send them money, okay? We're hoping they get their act together. I know there's been a lot of talk, and you're probably a lot more knowledgeable about it now than a month or two ago. There were people who were even clueless that anything was even going on internally with the NRA, and that's okay. Everybody doesn't keep up with everything. How's that for? But we're not enemies. We want the NRA to get things straightened out. We need all the help we can get with all the gun rights organizations, right? Elections are coming up. And there's a lot going on. There are a lot of people are calling for changes at the top, which is probably a good idea. I know Tom Gresham is calling for an audit, an independent audit, very professional audit, I know. Rob Pincus is involved in some things. Follow those people, follow what's going on, and we need to straighten them out and keep up with what's going on. So, but anyway.
This live stream Yankee had earlier, I guess late last week, and he was talking about how it was pointless for people to contact their representatives or officials, to send them letters, to call them, that all this does nothing. They don't read it, they don't care if all that comes in one day, they just think, oh, it's some internet thing. so he pretty much said, don't do it. It's a waste of time. I mean, they're not going to care anyway.
I don't think you did a good job with your video yesterday. We shouldn't give up on calling our senators and congressmen. Today, the Wall Street Journal said the person in Texas got the gun from someone who manufactured it. That would be illegal because you can't get a gun and sell it if you don't have make a gun and sell it if you don't have a license. You can make a gun for yourself, but not try to sell. Yeah, bullshit. Here's the thing. All these people that think calling my congressman and my senator, that does absolutely nothing. You almost never actually talk to your congressman or senator. In fact, all the calls are routed to an off-site office. All the mail goes to a secondary party first and then goes to an off-site office. They understand. They know how things work. They're like, oh, I got 1,000 messages today. Oh, someone posted something on Instagram. That's a tiny little fraction of the internet is all riled up today. I'll just ignore them for a little while. They'll go away. Calling your congressman, calling your senators is something you should still do, but to believe it actually does anything, you'll be fooling yourself. Believe me, I've talked to these people in person multiple times. They never fucking see your emails. If they do, they write it off as a fringe movement, even if they get thousands of them. It's an internet-sponsored thing, so they don't care.
Man, you even got Iraq veteran supporting this. I mean, GOA. They put out a video a few days after Yankee dropped this video, I think almost in a way in response to the Yankee Marshal's video. I don't understand where he's coming from. He's like, the only thing that matters is if people show up in rallies and stuff, and it's not true. Everything counts. I don't know where this guy comes off at or what's going through his mind. And frankly, I think he's wrong.
Inside the Beltway is loud, but they told us, they said, if your members weren't being equally as loud or even louder, this would already be a done deal. This thing would have already been wrapped up by now. But the fact that we're seeing Republicans now retreating on what they were saying previously in terms of, supporting certain gun control ideas is a testimony to the fact that people have been responding, gun owners have been responding. They are contacting their representatives, their senators, and it's having a huge impact. I mean, this is how you may remember in 2013, it was very discouraging after the Sandy Hook shooting. They were blaming gun owners again. And if Eric, you remember that time that the media, even guys on our side, were saying, "Yep, there's nothing we can do. Some gun control is going to pass." And you know what? No gun control passed. And the reason why was because we were able to mobilize so many loud activists, just average people, husbands, wives, average gun owners that were taking the time, just, the few minutes either to make a call, which can be very effective, or take action on one of our alerts by, sending, an email message to the Hill. That is so powerful. In fact, the New York Times credited Gun Owners of America for putting the nail in the coffin for Obama's gun control that year. But it wasn't us working here inside the Beltway. It was the power of the grassroots. And, for those alerts, because then, you become part of that grassroots army where we're deluging the Hill and the White House with over 2 million messages. I mean, and it's not coming from us. It's coming from you guys. The grassroots, that is really significant. That's important. We've been generating phone calls as well. I mean, phone calls are really important. And I would say for this reason, I've been up there on the Hill, on Capitol Hill, when lots of phone calls are coming in, and you see the haggard look of, the receptionist taking the calls, and you just hear the phones constantly ringing, and it's all on, if guns is the hot topic, it's all on that issue. And that message bubbles up in the office. Like, the chief of staff hears about it, the representative or senator hears about it. Yeah, we're getting a lot of calls in opposition to, universal background checks or red flags or whatever it is. That's really important to have that inner office dynamic where they can see with their eyes. Yeah, there's a lot of people that are really exercised about this, because ultimately the biggest thing they care about, I mean, this, they want to get reelected. And so if there's enough people that are saying, you know what, we're going to remember in November, that has an impact.
I completely agree. And I think a really great spot to segue into in this video to kind of wrap things up would be to discuss how important grassroots efforts are at a state level. I think that people need to understand that there are state battles that are occurring in a wide variety of different states, and it's really important for people to get really active and to make things happen at a state level, right? You know, these state level fights are going to be really important. Just like
strongly advise, if nothing else, strongly advise you to stay in touch with your politicians, your elected officials. Let them know where you stand and what you want them to do, what you want them to vote on, and how you want them to vote. Let them know. If they don't, you will vote them out of office. You've got to stay in the game and make sure you're voting and you're in communication with those officials. And if you can join, put money towards the gun rights organization, if that's what you believe is good, do it. I'm trying to be objective here because we all need to be involved. You know where I come down on this. Guns are not the problem. There may be some people listening that disagree. Hey, do what you can. You give it your best shot to get your politicians to vote the way you want them to vote, okay? And the rest of us will do the same. But be involved. It's still a shame that more people don't vote. It's a crime.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the video that Iraq put out, they straight disputed that. They definitely take notice when you contact your representatives, when you're sending in letters, when you're doing all this. It makes a difference. I mean, yeah, this Yankee Marshal guy loves talking about other people. And honestly, I don't think he would be anywhere near as big as he is without, honestly, I mean, riding off the coattails of these other YouTubers. It's like his thing. He clickbaits their names, he clickbaits their pictures, he just blah, blah, blah about everyone else and never has anything interesting to say for himself. And then he does these live chats and he gets people in there and he has a donation set up, and these donations go towards a puppy fund. He donates to help puppies. I don't understand that. I mean, that money could easily go back into this, you know, the Second Amendment, help different organizations, but this guy would rather have people donate to help puppies, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, I got nothing against it. You're a gun channel, right? Why not start a second channel if you love puppies that much? I mean, we're supposed to be here for the Second Amendment, fighting it. We don't want universal background checks. We don't want any of these things. And this guy, he blows my mind. And he just calls out people, and he doesn't represent them correctly. I mean, if you're going to call somebody out, at least research it more. Don't make claims that people don't have, you know, or don't say. His whole channel is just talking shit. He just hates on everything, everybody, type of ammo you carry, the way you carry, who you support, what you believe in. I mean, you name it, even your content. I mean, he hates on every YouTube, Demolition Ranch. He hates on Hickok. He hates on everybody. This guy just hates, and I cannot stand it. You know, if you're not doing this the exact way Yankee says, you're wrong, you're stupid. You gotta carry a 10 millimeter or 357. I mean, this guy acts like he knows it all. He's just so arrogant too. I mean, I've heard people met him in real life and they say that this guy is exactly how he acts in his videos. He's arrogant. He likes to be the center of attention. This guy thinks he's the best thing that ever happened. You know, I don't understand why this guy can't just make entertaining content without having to clickbait other people. I mean, he doesn't do anything that's unique. He doesn't do anything that's his own. He barely even takes his guns out and shoots them, you know, and he won't even show them. I mean, I've seen people ask to see his collection. He's like, oh, I don't want to open up my safe and pull all that out. It's too much work. it's too much work to show people my collection, to show off my guns. Like, this dude is the epitome of lazy. I don't understand. And you just scroll through his feed and you see all these thumbnails, and it's kind of embarrassing, honestly, man. This guy is embarrassing to the Second Amendment, and he's an embarrassment to gun owners everywhere. I don't know many people that agree with this dude. And most people I know that watch his content don't like the guy. I think they just watch it to see what he'll say next. He's kind of more shock value than he is entertainment. Yeah, he just drives me crazy. I'm gonna put in some clips in this so you guys can see for yourself what I'm talking about how he's making false accusations. And I remember him talking crap about Iraq veteran too. Now they seem buddy-buddy, but it seems fake. I mean, if you got Iraq alone, I'm sure I don't know. To be honest, I don't know, but the Yankee Marshal just, he's a douche. Forget you, Yankee. You might as well get off YouTube, man. It's pathetic. Well, you give away a gun, a handgun, to what people who need them, veterans, things like that, and that's good, man. But that's all that I see that this dude does for the gun community. Other than that, I think he is more divisive than anything, and honestly, his opinions are shit. And I just wanted to put this out here. I'm Yankee Marshal, and if you don't carry a gun this big, then you ain't carrying it right. You only need one shot. I always wear hats because I'm ashamed of my balding. Fucking dork.